So these insights are allowing us to make informed data-driven decisions. And we are not just relying on the quantitative metrics, but also on the qualitative inputs like user feedback. So they're working together, and that's how the measuring the content helps and why we have to measure.
Now, what does documentation performance really mean?
So these are more about the numbers, but behind the numbers, there is much more that we need to interpret it. So a comprehensive system for measuring the docs and improving the usability is built on combining both of it to make the complete sense and get a holistic picture of what it actually means. So from an organization perspective, performance analysis will help us answer these critical questions. You need to wait until the user shares the feedback, right? Not all the users might be willing to go ahead and do that. So that's the reason we need to keep it simple, straightforward, and empathetic so that they're encouraged to share the feedback.
Welcome to the Knowledge Base Ninjas podcast, where Gauri Ramkumar of Document 360 finds the best SaaS self-service knowledge bases in the world and then interviews their creators. Let's get started with today's episode.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to Knowledge Base Ninjas podcast. With me, I have Sadhana Suresh, Staff Systems and Software Technical Writer at IONOS. How are you doing, Sadhana?
Hi, Gauri. I'm doing great. Thank you. Happy to be here with you.
Yeah, same, pleasure's mine. And I should just highlight your total years of experience, 12 plus years in this space. Tell me all about how did it start, who inspired you, and how are you finding the whole transition from various phases?
Sure. So, coming from a technical education background, I started my career in IT applications. And then I worked closely with the users and helped them in resolving the application issues. So, after each of those cases, I would document the solution so that it could help our internal teams to support the users much more effectively the next time around. So, this is how I started internally documenting the content. But then I found myself highly interested in building the knowledge base, and that's when I realized I enjoyed writing. And I saw firsthand how it could help the users to create clear documentation, and that could make them a difference in how they interact with our content and with the application itself. So, pretty much then it led to the transition of me joining into a technical documentation team, and I started creating content specifically for end users. So yes, with the 12 plus experience, I worked on different domains. I started with e-commerce and then with cloud products. And yeah, so I am now currently also working for a cloud product company and back in India and now here in Germany. Yes.
Nice, nice. So, how did you feel when you first saw how your documentation or your write-up was consumed by your customer? What did you feel?
Oh yeah. So when I started off, it was more like a content improvement that I started, contributing to. And when you get user feedback and you get even the stakeholder feedback that yes, this is really helpful, this is adding some value, it is within the application you have this content embedded and we see that users are interacting with it. So from my early career on, it was at some point where this kind of getting the feedback from users was interesting to me, and that also helped me to know that okay, whatever I'm creating is adding value. And this kind of then slowly also transitioned into analytics and using this measuring techniques. And yeah, that's why we are here today talking more about it.
Yeah, of course. I think that led me to the next question, which is you spoke about analytics, right? Now, what does documentation performance really mean? Because this is something we come across as well in many customer conversation. How do they measure the ROI? How can you be sure that your documentation has helped you progress further? And so what do you really mean by it? And the most important thing is, why should somebody care about it?
Yeah. So when we say documentation performance, it's more like a health indicator. It's like a pulse check, which tells us how well our content supports the users to be successful, whether our users are able to completely do the tasks of the product efficiently without having to rely on the customer support, or whether users can find the information they need are they able to adopt to the product features easily, and so on. So these are some of the questions that we come across as a technical writer or somebody who is creating content, to know where documentation lies in the hands of the users.
Right.
So from an organization perspective, performance analysis will help us answer these critical questions. So, is our documentation actually delivering value? And are we creating what users want? So, and this becomes vital as our documentation scales. So, it becomes increasingly important to allocate our time and efforts very efficiently in creating content that adds value to our users and our product base itself. So, performance analysis, it gives us that clarity and visibility, and that's so important, and that's the reason we need to measure it. So to give you some example, currently in our organization we are leveraging analytics to measure performance, so which gives us a clear picture of user behavior and content effectiveness. So for instance, we are interested in the engagement, how well our content is being engaging for the users. So we have a benchmark of content KPIs. So we track like pages viewed, content satisfaction score, engagement rate, and so forth. So based on this, we are able to understand that what content are really engaging for our users and how we can improve the content engagement. So these insights are allowing us to make informed data driven decisions, and we are
Right.
not just relying on the quantitative metrics but also on the qualitative inputs like user feedback. So they're working
Mhm.
together, and that's how the measuring the content helps, and why we have to measure it.
Great. So, yeah, this is something I really wanted to touch base with you and dig a little bit deeper in. How do
Mhm.
you combine the quantitative analytics with qualitative insights? So, yeah, as I said, there's a lot of conversations around this, which is most important. It maybe depends on the organization as well, but are you able to explain that a little bit deeper in and also help us understand how one can combine both to make the most effectiveness from their documentation side?
Yes, so when we look at the quantitative analytics, it's basically more of numbers, right? Like pages viewed. Okay, we have these many numbers of users who are visiting our site, and this is the percentage of engagement rate, and so forth. So these
Mm-hmm.
are more about the numbers, but behind the numbers, there is much more that we need to interpret it. So, a comprehensive system for measuring the docs and improving the usability is built on combining both of it to make the complete sense and get a holistic picture of what it actually means. So, quantitative analytics, for instance, we are using Google Analytics and Gitbook, so which provides us a data matrices on the search queries, the bounce rate, or the KPIs on traffic or content. Now, for instance, we are having has the numbers, you tell what's happening at a scale, and it gives us only the patterns and potential gaps. So this is one of the instances how we can use the quantitative analytics, which gives us a trend over the period of time. But quantitative insights, on the other hand, it helps us understand the why behind these numbers. So the information is derived basically from user feedback, surveys, and even direct support interactions that we can have within our organization and get some insights to it. So, for example, an analytics might indicate that a particular guide has higher user engagement time. So, but the user feedback could reveal that the steps are unclear or that the screenshots are outdated, leading the user to spend a lot of time on the page. So, but we might interpret it as like, oh, it's a highly engaging page and it's very useful for the users. But you will only get a complete picture of it when you look through the user feedback and you find that okay, the users are raising issues that okay, there is a gap in the content and the product usage might be difficult. So that's where having that qualitative metrics plays a vital role. Now you can connect the dots and understand clearly what was misinterpreted as okay, clear picture that okay, this is what the issue the user is facing, that's why the engagement number is higher, but that's not what it is. But we need to improve the content over there or correct it so that it can have actual value to the user. So this is one of the examples how we can combine both quantitative and qualitative. Depending only on the quantitative analytics could be sometimes misleading. Another example could be page views. So we can say that the page views are high for a particular, but for instance, it could just be an entry point, it could be a landing page. So it doesn't really mean that it's highly interactive or users are finding the information on the landing page, but it's more like as a since it's an entry point, there are more page views on it. When you also combine it with the user feedback, then we will know that okay, other users are finding it helpful while they're searching the content, are they able to navigate through from the landing page to the content what they are looking for. So that's how we build together an approach of using both sides of the metrics and derive an well driven data driven decisions.
Absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I think that gives us a lot more details around why both are important. But at the same time, how do you get this? It's not super easy. First of all, users need to feel comfortable to give their feedback, and then you've got to have the right channels to get that feedback and effectively dissect it and use it to your further analysis. So that comes that so I just want to understand from you, from your experience, what feedback channel has best worked for technical documentation? Is it inline feedback, surveys, support tickets, or direct user interviews? What do you think has worked the best for you?
Yeah, that's a great question, Gauri. I think this also covers on the other aspect of the feedback loop and the feedback mechanism, and we are building it in our Tech Talks team. So we have the feedback mechanism system which is built where on our documentation pages, along with whatever the platform that we're using, there is an option where users can rate whether they're finding it helpful, or if not, then provide us some inputs with. So it is tied to every individual pages, so we know that a particular page is not working or if it is good. So we have that inbuilt along with Gitbook. So if you're using any other platforms, so most of them will offer this opportunity where they can collect the feedback from users for every documentation page that you have on their website. So that's one of the aspect. On the other side, you need to encourage users. So for instance, you run surveys and you also have like a feedback option on top of your page, which is quite visible to the users, and they
Yeah.
can just click on it and provide the feedback, make the feedback a form, or so for instance it could be like a form, or so make use of it in a way that it is simple, it is makes empathetic for the user to be like okay, yes, the company is listening, they are understanding the feedback that we're giving. So keep it short, be empathetic to ask them like what is truly the pain point that they experienced when they were looking into the documentation and how they want this to be improved. So here it also touches some aspects of UX principles, that you need to be empathetic and also focusing on what the user actually wants, and not just that what content you want to provide or you think that is a doc set that you want to deliver along with the products. So collecting these feedback, it gives us over the period of time and input that okay, these are the set that we have to improvise in our content or we need to change the approach. But one aspect on the qualitative is, and you need to wait until the user shares the feedback, right? Just like the point you made, not
Mm.
all the users might be willing to go ahead and do that. So that's the reason we need to keep it simple, straightforward, and empathetic so that they're encouraged to share the feedback. That is one aspect. The second point is on the surveys. So have a visible banner or a survey that you conduct over the period of time, not that it has to be forever, but like in a span of 1 month, 2 months, or quarterly. And as and when you make some changes to your doc site. So, for instance, you released a new product feature and you have a new doc set there. So, you want to collect feedback. So, keep the survey as simple as specific to this, so that you can it's catchy on the website, users go on it and take a survey, and you can get the inputs. It could be also you made some changes to the doc site itself, or how you are added some more interactive materials like downloadable files or videos. So get a first hand input from the users, that how did they like it or not. So these are like surveys, you don't need to have it all the time, but a periodical survey. That's another way you can collect feedback. But meantime, while they are offering you this inputs, you always have your support team who can share if there are any tickets, and you go and look at it. That's where the internal teams help you in getting the inputs on what issues the users are encountering, and you can improvise the content. So that's on the other aspect. So these three plays a vital role. While you are focusing on the user feedback, focus on the quantitative metrics like the numbers. So you will know that that is where the numbers comes into help, that you don't have to wait until the users give you feedback, but go and look at the engagement rate, the bounce rate, the page views itself, so that you will know how well your pages or documentation is performing. And maybe you can make some changes there, and maybe also add new content and see if it is really engaging or not. I hope this answers your question.
Fantastic. Yes, it gives us a very good perspective on how various channels could be used effectively in collecting the feedback and using it further on. So that's really great. Thank you so much, Sadhana, for that. Now let's move on to the rapid fire round. And I'm sure you must be consuming a lot of resources to
Mhm.
amplify your day-to-day activities. So anything that you would like to share with us, particularly on the documentation side, you felt right, really good read and you would love to share with us?
Yeah, so I would say there are like Write the Docs, then there is STC Forum and even TechCom. So these are like a very high valued, I would say, where you have your community and sharing a lot of knowledge on what they're doing within their organization itself. And they also have a lot of materials on there to read and understand and to take the best practices. So I would say these are some of the key resources and even conferences that I make use of to learn and contribute to the community. Yeah.
Mhm. That's nice. Thank you. Yeah, I think we've heard of both the sources, and nice to see that you also refer to those famous ones. Now, one word that comes to your mind when you hear documentation.
Okay, so I would say self-serviceability. So it's like, you're writing documentation to help users achieve what they are trying to do with the product. So I would say when I'm writing, I would always think, okay, will this help the users and will they be able to perform the task by using this documentation? So I would say it is self-serviceability.
Nice. Thank you. That's great. My last question to you for the day is a piece of advice you would give to your 20-year-old self.
Okay, for my 20-year-old self, I would say go out and try it out, because as a 20-year-old, or when, even in my early career, I would think twice and be, okay, let's see if this works or not. Let's consult and then try it out. But I would say just go and try, because no learning is wasted. And all of your learning will count and you will learn something new if it is okay. Because example, now in the AI era, I think you just have to go try it out and get some inputs and see if it, even if it doesn't work out, you learn something new. So I think you be fearless and just go try.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. And as I said, you've not disappointed us. Ample experience is what is translated into those answers. And yeah, it looks like getting the feedback from both the angles is a must for any organization who thinks of improving their documentation. And moreover, they need to have the right tools, right, to get those feedback and see how that information could be effectively used. So all
Right.
I can do now is wish you all the best for your upcoming projects, and I'm sure there's a lot of exciting stuffs lined up for you. And we wish you all the very best and success in creating more and more wonderful documentation.
Thank you, Gauri. It was a pleasure talking with you today.
Thank you. Take care, Sadhana.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Knowledge Base Ninjas podcast. Please head to iTunes, rate, and provide honest feedback on the podcast. See you next week.